I will now demonstrate to you the use of G1 Plus and G2 Plus in the Primo culture system. To prepare your Primo culture dish, load each well individually with G1 Plus and then cover all the wells with an additional 80 microliters of G1 Plus. Keep your droplet as flat as possible and avoid the formation of air bubbles. The rim around the microwells does not mark the edge of the proposed culture droplet. The function of this rim is merely to stabilize the droplet of culture media. When you make the droplet, spread the media out over the edge of the rim and try to achieve a flat dome. Add an additional 2 droplets of G1 Plus as wash droplets and cover with oil. Equilibrate this dish at 37 degrees Celsius and 6% CO2 overnight. G-MOPS is a handling media specifically designed to work with zygotes and embryos for longer periods outside of the incubator. You can warm G-MOPS Plus in rinse tubes and tightly capped in an incubator overnight without CO2. Alternatively, you can also use a heated block to use the G-MOPS Plus to warm it up. At the time of fertilization check, denude the oocytes and assess them for fertilization in the G-IVF Plus dish in which they were inseminated. However, if you know that this procedure will take longer than 2 minutes, we recommend that you use G-MOPS Plus. This will allow for a much more stable environment for the zygotes and the oocytes to be assessed in. Remove the cumulus and the corona cells with a denudation pipette and assess them for fertilization at 37 degrees Celsius. If you are assessing the ichthyocytes, then you can use the G1 Plus dish, the microdroplet dish that you have prepared the day before. Before you start your time-lapse culture, check your Primo culture dish for air bubbles and remove if they are present. You can now wash your zygotes in the GTL wash droplets that you prepared the day before and then place the zygotes in the microwells, 1 zygote per well. Culture them at 6% CO2 and 37 degrees Celsius. You can now make use of the Primo software to analyze your embryos and look at the embryo development. In the afternoon of day 2 or in the morning of day 3, you can prepare a new Primo culture dish with G2 Plus for washing and for culture. Load each well individually with G2 Plus and then add an additional 80 microliters to cover all the wells. Add also 2 wash droplets of G2 Plus and cover the dish with olive oil. Equilibrate this dish at 37 degrees Celsius and 6% CO2 for at least 6 hours. Before you start your blastocyst culture, check the Primo culture dish for air bubbles and remove them if present. In the afternoon of day 3, wash the embryos in the G2 Plus wash droplets and transfer the embryos to the new dish, 1 embryo per well. Culture them at 6% CO2 and 37 degrees Celsius. An alternative method for blastocyst culture is to exchange the culture media instead of preparing a new culture dish. In the afternoon of day 2, or at least 6 hours prior to use, equilibrate at least 200 microliters of G2 Plus under olive oil at 6% CO2 and 37 degrees Celsius. To exchange the medium for blastocyst culture, carefully aspirate G1 Plus medium, leaving 10 to 15 microliters. Then add 80 microliters of G2 plus from the previously equilibrated media. To minimize dilution of G2 plus, repeat the exchange. To avoid displacement of the embryos in the wells, aspirate and exchange the medium very carefully. Culture at 37 degrees Celsius and 6% CO2. You can now make use of the Primo software to analyze your embryos and look at the embryo development.